Actually, when we use the term theatre, we mean the urban theatre. We get the image of the proscenium theatre in the cities. For rural theatre, we have to use a qualifying adjective like folk or traditional. So they run parallelly with practically no give and take between them. So here what we had before, the folk theatre, should be called the first theatre. The city theatre which we imported from the west should be the second theatre. Now if for some people, some theatre people, none of these theatres are quite suitable or adequate, and those people try to find an alternative theatre, and that can be called the third theatre. In this context I use the term the third theatre. In the sense that the form is very strong and the connection they make with the audience, this actor-audience relationship is wonderful. The strength of the folk theatre. Why I didn't find that suitable for our purpose is in the matter of content. The content is mostly backdated. Not only backdated, it has got no relationship with the present day life of the people, the toiling people. And quite often it expresses the wrong values, teaching people subjugation and depending on gods and goddesses rather than analyzing the situation and standing for their own rights. So that is what I found wrong with it. The second theatre, content-wise, is much more progressive than the first theatre, but it's limited to the cities, to the educated, urban, middle class or upper class communities who cannot really take action in social change or leadership action in social change. That's the limitation. So I was groping, I was exploring anyway for an alternative theatre where we can talk about social change but also go to the people easily.
আমরা প্রসেনিয়াম থিয়েটারের বাইরে আজ প্রায় 22-23 বছর থিয়েটার করছি। মাঠে করেছি, কাজনবাগে করেছি, ফুটপাতে করা আমাদের কাছে নতুন নয়। আবার একটা ঘরের মধ্যে মেঝেতে দর্শকের সঙ্গে অভিনয় ক্ষেত্রে ভাগাভাগি করে নিয়েও করেছি। থিওজফিক্যাল সোসাইটি হলে, কলেজ স্কোয়ারে, অথবা সিন্ধু ইউথ অ্যাসোসিয়েশন হলে, অথবা প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজের বেকার হলের সামনের আঙিনাটাতে।
And the answer is quite obvious, but we theatre people usually overlook it. The answer is that theatre is a live show, the films are not. With all its inadequacies, this is the greatest strength of theatre. Live show means here, now. It means two bodies of people, the spectators and the performers, have to come to the same place on the same day and at the same time and stay together for some time. Otherwise, the event of theatre will not take place. That is the strength of theatre.
সব যাত্রা শোভাযাত্রা শোভাযাত্রা পদযাত্রা যাত্রা যাত্রা আসুন আসুন মিছিল আরম্ভ হয়ে গেছে সুবিধা মতো জায়গা দেখছে রাস্তার দুপাশে বসে যান মিছিল মিছিল অন্নবস্ত্র মিছিল পরমার্থ মিছিল শৃঙ্খলা মিছিল সেক্রেটারি মিছিল উদ্বাস্ত মিছিল বন্যাত্রাণ মিছিল শোক মিছিল প্রতিবাদ মিছিল উৎসব মিছিল সিনেমাগুলো মিছিল আসুন আসুন মিছিল 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 Mitchell, 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 Mitchell,
Came out, we found that we do not need those costly and heavy paraphernalia of sets, spotlights, all these heavy costumes and makeup. We can depend on the imagination of the audience. So that gave rise to the concept of free theatre. It laid the foundation of free theatre. That means we can evolve a flexible, portable and inexpensive theatre, which is the crux of this third theatre. We can carry our theatre wherever we want to. We don't have to hire porters, let up our trucks. We can walk through the fields with our theatre. We can perform without spotlight, certainly, not without electricity even. In kerosene light or daylight we can perform. So we do not have to spend much money. Very little money we have to spend. And whatever money we need, we can get it from voluntary donation from our audience. So all these other means of theatre people, city theatre people to get money. Selling of tickets, we don't sell tickets. Asking for government grants, we don't even apply. Going to the big business houses for sponsorship, we can't even think of that. And certainly we don't have any rich patron. But still, for 22 years, our theatre, not only our group, but other groups also who are doing this third theatre, these groups survive very well. No problem, no money problem we have.
I think if you go back to the 60s when Badal Babu started writing, initially what he brought into play with great power, with great imagination, and a whole different style of writing was to present the situation of a conscientious, sensitive, middle-class individual in Calcutta. And this part of the country has been very strongly radical and political from a very early period. So in the post-independence setting, especially in the 60s when the early hopes, the early expectations were found to have been frustrated, there was a sense of anger, a sense of resentment growing at one level, and a kind of resentment which didn't really find any focus. The political movement was not really in a state where it could take up this spirit of resentment. and the frustration, the struggle, the internal conflicts of a middle-class individual in Calcutta who felt that he had to do something in these circumstances and couldn't find a way out. This became, in a way, Badal Babu's concern in the 60s. And it was so different in the context of the Indian theatre, where there was some kind of a conscious attempt in the works of Rakesh and Girish particularly in the 60s to locate in a kind of a mythical, constructed Indian theatre. And this man, and also Tendulkar in his own way in Maharashtra, they were so different from Mohan and Girish at that particular point of time, because they were doing something out of the social crisis, the sense of the crisis at the core of society at that particular given historical point of time. So I think Badal Babu and Tendulkar in his way, they were historicizing the sensibility and historicizing theatre at that particular point of time. And it is this historicization that leads on naturally with Badal Babu, where I think Vijay got stuck in a way, where Badal Babu started growing with the movement as it shaped, and he had to make the break from the proscenium theatre in the early 1970s, in the very early 1970s, because this was a period when the Naxalite movement had opened up another possibility, another expression or manifestation of that resentment, that demand for change, and not a celebration of tradition, which was becoming one of the main planks of the Indian theatre at that given point of time. So this departure was a very logical extension of the historicization that Badal Babu had accomplished even in the 60s. So he naturally came into that.
So it became gradually a philosophy, a politics if you like. Now as we can take our theatre to different remote parts of the country, to the toiling people, to the peasants, a philosophy developed, I mean, on social change. That means we will not do any play, even if it is written by me. We will not do any play. We will do those plays which are related in some way or other to social change. Otherwise, we won't perform that. That is our philosophy. So, our plays, our theatre has become content-based. Content first, which means what we want to say. Form follows content. Form is how we say that. So we are not committed to a particular form. For each play we explore for the form. And we are not interested in taking theatre form from point A to point B. But we do experiment to find out the best form which will project a particular content of a particular play most adequately and most intensely. Our training process is what we call our workshop, you see. So, the preparation of any play is the workshop method. The workshop does several things. First, self-awareness, to look inside, and then looking inside, trying to find our real nature, our feelings, meet it face to face, then linking it with our outward bodily expression. So that's the mind-body link, the theme. What the theme does to our interior, our inner mind, and how it is expressed by our outer body, including voice. Again, the workshop teaches us mutual trust, cooperation, teamwork, then sense of our relationship with different elements in space. There are so many aspects of workshop. It's a complete methodology with linked games and exercises.
My initial reactions to Badal Sircar are all recorded in his book, Third Theatre. I mean, the reviews have been quoted there. And they're very complimentary. Because I thought then, and even now think, that Spartacus, which it did for Ongon Moncho or the Arena Theatre, on the second floor of the Academy of Fine Arts in, it would be I think 72, is one of the most rewarding experiences I have had in theatre. And if I am asked to choose the best of Indian theatre, I think I will place that.
It became almost a way of life with us. We were all interested in social change. Interested again is a very weak word. We were very much involved in the thing. So sharing our consciousness, whatever level it is at, with many people, particularly the toiling people in the rural areas, that became our main purpose.
রাজকোষেতে হলো চুরি রাজার নিদ্রা ভঙ্গ রাজকোষেতে করলো চুরি সে যে চোরের রাজা চোরের মন্ত্রী চোর ও চূড়ামণি আমরা আছি এমন দেশে চোরের গতি রাজার কোষে ঘন্টা বোঝায় গেল সে রাজা মশাই দিচ্ছে হাত দেশের সকল জ্যোতিষদা কোতোয়াল ভাই মজায় আজ দিচ্ছি আমার বুড়ি চোর ধরতে জ্যোতিষ আছে তাই তো তাহার চিন্তা মিছে পড়লে ধরা মারতে চাবুক নেই কো তাহার জুড়ি
When we stopped selling tickets, the audience behaved in such a friendly manner. It was a real human relationship. And they cooperated with us. When we performed in Angan Manch in a closed room, they will not accept houseful from us. They will anyway enter. And they will squeeze themselves in any position, suffering the heat, and keep absolutely silent. That kind of friendliness we got. Then in one show I remember, there was a sudden load shedding. And I was acting at that time, everybody busy. Only one person was outside with the candles, one or two. They entered with the lighted candles. The house was full. I didn't know where they will place the candles. They simply handed over the candles to the members of the audience and they held the candles for us to go on performing. There was no break. Just one example. I mean, absolute friendly human relationship.
দেখতে পাচ্ছ না সূর্যালোকিত ঘরবাড়ি ফুলের বাগান সবুজ ঝলমলে গাছপালা মহারাজ আর দেরি করবেন না লগ্ন পার হয়ে যাচ্ছে যে শালার ধোপা তো হেভি খাচ্ছে আরে বলে ধোপার বুদ্ধি আরে ধোপার বুদ্ধি না ওর নাপিতের বুদ্ধি
I mean, I have seen landless agricultural laborer rather sick, old man, just could not resist the temptation of walking with us to the next village, then again to the next place, and moving away and away from his own place, without a single paisa in his pocket. I asked him, why are you doing it? He said, I don't know, I just got high, and I can't leave you. We have seen a bigger woman calling us and then bringing out 5 paisa from the bag and paying it. So all these enthusiasm, there are so many things, it's very difficult to describe. Then the women folk and children, one parikrama, a very poor village where women folk, they try to fish, but there is no proper water there. Only some collected water, so very small fish, just for some extra income. So in the morning they do it. Second time we went there, these women folk started abusing us like anything. What do you mean by coming to our village in the morning? Can we see other play in the morning? I mean, just as if we are their own people, you see. All these things happened.
I think when he started in the 70s with Bhoma, which I think is the play with which he really came in the third theatre movement, the earlier works, of course, Sagina Mahato or Spartacus, these were more finding his way out and rooting himself into this new form, into this new experiment in a way. But Bhoma became his first major independent work, where he was very deliberately, proclaimedly, making an attempt to bridge the gulf between the city and the village. And this gulf, it's not just a gulf of incomprehension, but more than the gulf of incomprehension, which was of course there, it was also a gulf of not knowing and also hiding things. It was a gulf of darkness. It was a gulf of oblivion, which he wanted to bridge. And very consciously he wanted to illuminate that gulf, where the people in the cities should realize how they were willy-nilly exploiting the people in the village. And this was an experience which I think was very important at that point, and this was an experience which had been raised by the Naxalite movement. It couldn't achieve all that it wanted to do and failed at various levels, but this awareness has meant so vitally in the context of this part of the country at least. Just as Mahashweta Devi is a product of this consciousness, this awareness of the gulf, so is Badal Babu's work in this phase. So I don't find anything wrong in this if a person with an urban consciousness tries to use the urban consciousness and tries to illuminate the urban consciousness further, bring in these experiences into the urban consciousness, because decisions, controls, these are created in the cities. And you can't leave it entirely to just arousing the masses, and you can't really do it. One has to go there, and this theatre can't accomplish by itself. This must have a base, a movement, a politics in the roots, in the villages where that can happen. So Badal Babu's job is not to do that. That's somebody else's job. But as part of the larger politics, I think he is playing his role excellently, and of course he does that. He's rooted in the urban consciousness. It is his job to arouse, to awaken, to conscientize the urban consciousness. And that is what he's doing, and his theatre is urban theatre, essentially urban theatre. At the same time, there is just another aspect of his entire movement, another aspect of his theatre, where he goes down to the villages, where he meets them, where he knows them, carrying his theatre with them, but not so much to give this to them, but to take things for them and to establish a dialogue. That is all that he is doing. He's not doing a theatre for them. And when he has opportunities, which opportunities have not been that many, to go into the interiors, to go into the villages and work at the workshop level with them, then try to give them means and modes through which they can voice themselves, they can express themselves, which has to be their theatre. Badal Babu can't do a theatre for them. That I would find a phony act.
It sounds very harsh, especially for someone whom I had great regard once. I thought he was the hope of our theatre. I think he has been marginalized in this theatre at the moment. Though he is getting, mind you, he is getting the recognition he should have gone then. Now he is getting them. But this Kalidas Samman should have come his way in 70s when he did Spartacus. Now it is coming at a time when he has virtually no relationship with the theatre that is we see now in Calcutta. He may think that by being different, he is trying to set a contrast which will expose the limitations of the theatre. Perhaps see that. But I don't see it that way. I personally get the idea that he didn't know enough of the proscenium, which is why I escaped from it.
Now, proscenium theatre is full of barriers. Barrier of distance, everybody sitting on one side means the last row is quite far away. Same number of people, if they sat on all four sides or even three sides, the last row will come much nearer to the stage. Then barrier of levels, two different levels or more than two levels, performers and spectators. But the greatest difference according to me is the greatest barrier, is the barrier between light and darkness. The action is in light and the audience is hiding in the dark, which means that one party of human beings in the event of theatre, the performers, are denying the presence of the other party, namely the audience. Well, that is certainly not the way to utilize the strength of theatre, the direct communication between performers and spectators, if the performers even do not recognize the presence of the audience. So these are the reasons why we came down from the proscenium stage, sharing the space with the audience in different situations. One situation is in a large room of performing on the floor, same floor space used by performers and spectators, ordinary room light maybe, or out in the open air performance, people sitting on the ground and we performing, same level. That is what I mean by sharing of space.
What he does now can be done in the proscenium without having all that people sitting around the thing. It can be safely done on the stage. The kind of communication he's trying to achieve, the kind of oneness he's trying to achieve by having people, by performing within a circle. If involved theatre was all that physical, then I don't know. Then what do you even read performance on the stage? I am sitting at the back of a hall, say about 20 yards away from the actor, and yet I feel him talking to me. So why do I have to sit and, why does he have to breathe down my neck? I don't see any point. If he is a good actor, if the play has that message, if the director is good, he will communicate to me across oceans. In other words, there is a dichotomy between form and content, the classic dichotomy which ruins a work of art. He would first choose the form and then put the thing inside. And secondly, I found it was the same. I mean, I saw one of his plays, Hottomalar Deshe, after a break of almost 20 years, and I found it was the same thing, looks the same. How has he advanced?
The form and techniques have not been used for 20 years. I have already said that for each play, the content of each play, we have to explore to find out the form most suitable for the play. So it's not a question of inventing a new form out of the blue sky or anything like that. The content of each play dictates the form of that play.
I think one of the problems that happens with Badal Babu's performances now when you have your first look at it, because generally for a very long period, especially in Bengal, Bengali theatre had somehow, I call it was so patriarchal, and it was part of the patriarchy that it seems that the head, the mind, the brain and the head, this is all man's, and it is the head that has ruled the Bengali theatre. So much of Bengali theatre has been just verbal, the way a male actor would modulate his voice and play with his voice, and people would revere the voice and go all under. And I think it was important to attack and critique the voice, the primacy of the voice, the dominance of the voice. I would even call the fascism of the voice. Because once you play with the voice casts a spell. And a disembodied voice, a voice without a body, which seems to have a strange kind of an supreme, superior authority. And this has ruled so strongly in Bengali theatre that it was a rebellious brick when Badal Babu decides to drop this mystique or the magic of the voice and go to the body, expose the body even in all its limitations. So then you can relate to the body. Body relates to body. Human beings relate to other human beings, not overawed by the presence, the spell, the magic of the voice, the charmed voice. This was a very important break. So the physical element, once again, as I put it, it's Badal Babu was playing and living history in the theatre, and even this break was a part of history and a very revolutionary part of history.
I found his ideas very dangerous. Dangerous not in the sense of seditious or provocative, but in the sense of deluding people. In Hottomalar Deshe, he speaks of doing away with the money as the money is the source of all evil. I think that's a very naive attitude. He wants to go back to barter economy. You cannot do that. Money is here with us. The fact that some people are making the wrong use of money is not money's fault. You need money to have an exchange. You cannot do away with it. In any case, even if it is bad, it's with us. You cannot do away with the reality.
Our attitude to the whole change of society question. These both of them try to describe, try to create a dream about what the ultimate society should be, from everybody according to his ability to everybody according to his needs. That is what we try to express in two very different forms, in two productions.
Elango দাদা কলকাতা
তোর মাথা কলকাতা তো সোজা কিনা আমাদের হাটুয়া গ্রাম থেকে মহকুমা তারপর হলো কি সদর সদর থেকে তবে কলকাতা তোর আমার মতন সুদের চোরের কল্পনা তুমি ডাকাত বাউন্ডারি জালিয়াত বা চাকরি না বলে কলকাতার পাড়ালে পাঠায় না বুঝলে কিন্তু এই এত বড় শহর কলকাতায় থেকে অনেক বড় তাছাড়া কলকাতায় তেরাম গাড়ি আছে এখানে দেখেছিস তেরাম কিছু তেরাম গাড়ি কি সে এক রকমের গাড়ি রেলগাড়ির মতো কিন্তু ধোঁয়া আগুনের ব্যাপার নেই তুমি দেখেছো আমার ওই সমস্যায় গুরুদেব দেখেছি ও তাই বলো বলি এটা যদি কলকাতায় হবে তাহলে পুলিশ পাহারাওয়ালা করবে কলকাতার মোড়ে মোড়ে পুলিশ জানিস না বটে কিন্তু কলকাতা না হলেও এত বড় শহর একটাও পুলিশ নেই।
এখানে বোধহয় সব টিকটিকি সাদা পোশাকে ঘুরছে। এখানে সব উঁচু জাতের চোর, তাই পুলিশও টিকটিকি ছাড়া নেই।
এখানে আমাদের সুবিধা হবে না দাদা?
দাঁড়া, কাউকে জিজ্ঞেস করে দে।
Actually, Kanoria gave us this opportunity of linking our kind of theatre with mass movement. I won't say this was the first opportunity we had. One of our groups, there was a small factory which was under lockout for more than a year. Then a third theatre group went and worked with them and prepared a play. And when they went for raising money, factory gates, they performed that play they themselves made on their own struggle. Kanoria was another, and there many different theatre groups of ours, Shatabdi, Pathoshena, Aina, all of them have gone and performed, and particularly singing. For all their meetings or their singing, Shatak has done much.
জয় সদাশয় সরকার, ইংরেজ বাহাদুরের জয়। God save our noble king, long live our gracious king, God save the king. Get to the British, don't boom! Get to the terrorists! তারা রইল কপাট, ভেঙে ফেলে কর লোপাট, তারা রইল কপাট, ভেঙে ফেলে কর লোপাট, রক্ত জমাট শিকল পূজার ভাষণ বেদি, ওরে রে তরুণ নিশান, বাজা তোর প্রলয় বিশান, ধ্বংস নিশান, উড়ুক প্রাচীর প্রাচীর ভেদি, তারা রইল কপাট, ভেঙে ফেলে কর লোপাট, রক্ত জমাট শিকল পূজার ভাষণ বেদি, ওরে রে তরুণ নিশান, বাজা তোর প্রলয় বিশান, ধ্বংস নিশান, উড়ুক প্রাচীর প্রাচীর ভেদি। ওরে ও পাগলা ভোলা, দে রে দে প্রলয় দোলা, ওরে ও পাগলা ভোলা, দে রে দে প্রলয় দোলা, নারদ গোলা ধরছে ধরে গাছ কাটালে, ঘর হক হায়দারি হক, কাঁদে দুমদুমি ডাক, ডাক করে ডাক, মৃত্যুকে ডাক, জীবন করে।
Say in a workers' rally in front of the factory gate, there used to be meetings. There the songs Shatak or Pathoshena sang were in great demands. I mean, they really became demanding. We must come. Without Shatak songs, we can't hold a meeting. That kind of demand was there. Then, as the jute mill workers, they all live in surrounding villages. And their women folk were also in the struggle. They have many different kitchens where they supplied food to the workers at least once a day. So we went to these villages and performed the plays that boosted the morale of these people who were outside. As for raising money, absolutely separately from that, several times they just got into the train, went from here to the next station, Bardwan, say 100 kilometers away, singing and collecting money and selling coupons, coming back singing, then again one day to Kharagpur, then once to Shantiniketan. I mean, just like that, they made programs, different groups, singing. And then while we are invited by some other group for performance, going by train, we will also raise money for Kanoria in the train itself. Karzambag, of course, in 1974, there was a definite attempt to kill our theatre in Karzan Park, and the police lathi charge was there. One young man was killed, one spectator, but there was also a very huge protest. Since then, we have not faced any direct obstruction to it.
Well, I must say that I am not that concerned with the theoretical arguments about the definition of third theatre or alternative theatre or poor theatre. What is more important to me is that Badal Sircar has given us a special kind of theatre with a language of his own. Not only his own, it's a very important language, which we very much need these days as an alternative to what is going on in Bengali theatre in particular. In the name of having a separate group theatre, I am brutally frank about it, that the group theatre as it was during the 60s, during the great days of Shambhu Babu, Utpal ibn Ajitesh, it has gone down the drains, practically speaking. So because of that, we need a theatre which will never compromise with commercialism. That is the first thing that I have always got from Badal Sircar, and I expect to get it always.
Anti-angel missile, কখনো শুনিনি আগে। রোবেন আইল্যান্ড থেকে পালাতে হচ্ছে না বাঁচাতে। চারিদিকে পাহাড়, সমুদ্র, জল। কিন্তু সার্জেন্ট কি বললেন আপনি? ওই দেখুন, চেয়ে দেখুন একবার, ওই সমুদ্রে, ওই দেখুন। সর্বনাশ! এই ফায়ার! হ্যালো, হেলিকপ্টার কন্ট্রোল! হ্যালো, হেলিকপ্টার কন্ট্রোল!
But at the same time, Badal Sircar's theatre has a distinctive language of its own. It's not a poor show as such. The forte of his is comedy. He is one of the greatest, serious comedy we have got, of a very high order. Except Utpal Datta, I don't think anybody in modern Bengali theatre has given us of a serious comedy of that stature.
একটা ক্যামেরা যদি থাকতো ওইটাই ওর সবসময় ভুল হয়ে যায়। নিচে নামো, নিচে। হ্যালো, রেডিও 125 থেকে, রেডিও 125 থেকে, ওভার। হ্যাঁ, দেখতে পেয়েছি। হ্যাঁ, হেঁটে যাচ্ছে। কি মিসাইল চার্জ, কি করেছে ও? এখনো পর্যন্ত ভাঙেনি। সে যদি আপনি দেখতেন, সে অদ্ভুত। হ্যাঁ, সত্যি। কি চার্জ?
When I accepted the Sangeet Natak Award, for example, or Padma Shri, for example, I was not doing third theatre. I didn't have any definite philosophy in theatre or anything. It was a recognition, I accepted that. And if you say Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship is an award, it's not really an award, it's a fellowship. That was the time when I was groping, trying to find the new form. And the fellowship, really the subject, the project I submitted to them was a synthesis of rural and urban theatre. Later on, going through it in 2 years, the whole thing changed. And the result was this book, The Third Theatre, and our Angan Manch and all that. So that's a fellowship, a work project. So the other award I have accepted is this Kalidas Samman, you can say that. Well, I am not very sure whether I have done right or not. So whenever these things are offered to me, I tell them, I'll have to ask my group, not only my own group, all the third theatre groups around me. If they have any misgivings, I will refuse. They said you can take it, it doesn't matter, it gives some publicity to our theatre also, only then I accept it. But if you ask me whether I'm absolutely convinced about accepting or not, I'm not. I have my misgivings.
গান ছিল বটে আমাদের সময়, এখন না আছে সেই গান, না আছে সেই ঘোড়া। নিশ্চয়ই হবে, এক্ষুনি নিয়ে যাবে না তোমাকে। না, হবে না, মহিলা দিয়ে কাজ হবে না। কেন হবে না? শহরে বা গ্রামে হলে হতো, লড়াইয়ের ময়দানে কোনো মহিলার মরবার বা জখমার অধিকার নেই। আমাদের না 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 হাফের নাই নিয়ে অন্য ট্রেনে বরাত খুলে যেতেও পারে।
যদি পেয়ে যাই কোনো মোড়া আপনাদের জন্য রেখে দেবো, ঠিক অন্য কাউকে দেবো না, কথা দিচ্ছি।
অনেক ধন্যবাদ স্যার। যদি স্যার গুড বাই বাই গুড বাই বাই গুড বাই।
ছেড়ে তো তবে আশা, দিল ছেড়ে ভালোবাসা মেলবে না কেউ নয় রে আমো, সত্য নিয়ে সবাই মগন। কেউ নয় রে আমো, সত্য নিয়ে সবাই মগন। পেলে নে তোর আপনার ধন, পেলে নে তোর আপনার ধন, তার হবে তোর সাহসা মেলবে না ছেড়ে
I did not choose theatre, and even if I did, it was not to as a means of expressing myself. It just happened accidentally. I got interested in theatre, I liked the medium, gradually got more involved. So the other things came gradually later on. These choices are usually made very accidentally. If anybody asks me, how much do you think has been achieved, I will have to say, I don't know, or very little, not more than that. But this has become our purpose. We have got no alternative. We have to go on doing it.
বাঁকুড়া থেকে দূর পুরুলিয়া থেকে রুকা সুকা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায়। সুদূর বাঁকুড়া থেকে দূর পুরুলিয়া থেকে রুকা সুকা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায়। মাঠের আগুন থেকে প্রাণের ফাগুন থেকে রুকা সুকা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায়। মাঠের আগুন থেকে প্রাণের ফাগুন থেকে রুকা সুকা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায়। পলাশের গান গায়, শিমুলের গান গায়। পলাশের গান গায়, শিমুলের গান গায়। শিমুলের সাদা তুলো কিভাবে যে উড়ে এলো এ শহর কলকাতায়। শিমুলের সাদা তুলো কিভাবে যে উড়ে এলো এ শহর কলকাতায়। কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই, কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই। কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই, কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই। ব্লু ফিল্ম, ব্যাগি শার্ট, প্যারালাল বয় কাট, বিলিতি হুইস্কি আর ড্রাগের নেশায়। ব্লু ফিল্ম, ব্যাগি শার্ট, প্যারালাল বয় কাট, বিলিতি হুইস্কি আর ড্রাগের নেশায়। কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই, কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই। কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই, কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই। সুদূর বনগা থেকে সুন্দর বন থেকে নোনা ধরা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায়। সুদূর বনগা থেকে সুন্দর বন থেকে নোনা ধরা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায় নিজন নিঝুম থেকে জাগরণ ঘুম থেকে নোনা ধরা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায় নিজন নিঝুম থেকে জাগরণ ঘুম থেকে নোনা ধরা ছেলে মেয়ে গান গায় শুনিলে গান গায় সাগরের গান গায় শুনিলে গান গায় সাগরের গান গায় সাগরের সাদা ফেনা মেলে দিল শত ডানা উড়ে এলো এ শহর কলকাতায় সাগরের সাদা ফেনা মেলে দিল শত ডানা উড়ে এলো এ শহর কলকাতায় কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই এসি মার্কেট আর স্টার টিভি ভিসিআর ব্লু ফিল্মের নীল বিষের নেশায় এসি মার্কেট আর স্টার টিভি ভিসিআর ব্লু ফিল্মের নীল বিষের নেশায় কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই কলকাতা কত আর ঝিমবি তুই কলকাতা কত আর ঘুমবি তুই আকাশ প্রান্তর নদী হোক কান্তর জীবনের গানে তুই ফিরে আয় আকাশ প্রান্তর নদী হোক কান্তর জীবনের গানে তুই ফিরে আয় আকাশ প্রান্তর নদী হোক কান্তর জীবনের গানে তুই ফিরে আয়